Hello everybody, welcome back to making applesauce with Aunt Sissy. I'm Shirley Wiseman, also known as Aunt Sissy. I have a video on making applesauce, and then earlier, my one before this one, I decided to make some rhubarb applesauce because I had some rhubarb from the garden. So I want to show you the finished product. Now I'm going to show how I did it. It's just I don't have any more of it, but this is the applesauce that had the rhubarb in it, and as you can see, it's kind of got a little bit of a greenish tinge to it. And when I cut the rhubarb, it was green, and then part of it was red. I have made jam before, and it kind of turns kind of brownish, but I only had about a cup of rhubarb and about maybe 6 or 8 cups of apples. So it tastes pretty sweet. Tasted really good. Just to show you, to compare, this is, see the difference in color. This is regular applesauce with no rhubarb in it, and that one had some rhubarb in it. And it tasted really good. I did not add any sugar. Had plenty of apples so that it wasn't very sour. It wasn't sour at all. But if you wanted more of a rhubarb flavor, you could do more rhubarb, like half rhubarb and half apples. So just to recap on how I did it. So first we had apples. We cut them up. We put them in a pot. And I had the pot full of cut apples. Some of the apples I had off of my trees and I did not peel them. The ones from the produce stand we did peel and cored and took the seeds out. And then we put them in a pot, put 2 cups of water, and then boiled them. And so they got soft like this. And this actually does have some skin in it because this had some Wolf River off of my trees. So after, takes about 20 to 30 minutes, and you want to stir it in between because they'll cook on the bottom and the ones on the top won't be soft. So stir it up a little bit so that they'll all get cooked. And then after they're all soft, then you mash it with a masher. Okay, just to show you this process. Now this does not have the rhubarb. I already finished the one. I didn't have enough to do any more in the videos, but just to recap in case you didn't see the other video, the whole process. So then we take it and we put it through the food mill. My grandmother called this a ricer, and this was actually hers, which I've got there some scuppernong jelly, which I'll show you in another video. But what you're going to do is just put it in this food mill, the mashed up apple sauce, which you can see is already saucy. Okay, and then you're just going to gently mash it through, and I don't know if you can zoom in. Down, you'll see it come out the bottom, and be careful not to splash it all over you. It is very hot. And you can go it around in the sides, twirl it around the sides, and then a lot of time I do this to get all the applesauce off, and you keep doing that until you get it all done. This is our last batch. We have done, you'll see all these jars over here today, all these jars from yesterday. And I still have another crock pot full and another batch to go. So we're going to end up with, I don't know, maybe 8 cases of, and those are in pint jars, 2 cups applesauce. Now what you're going to do, once you get it through your food mill and you have the applesauce coming out there, once you get if you can see, there's not a whole lot of distance between the bottom of this and the bottom of your bowl, so it'll get hard to mash it up there. If you have an older fashioned one, or if you have a higher up bowl, see this is on a stand, so you could elevate it higher so you could get more in the bowl. But I keep emptying the bowl then into a crock pot. And if you can see over here, get a spoon. So the reason why I do this is because you want to make sure that the applesauce is very, very hot when you put it into the jars, because it will go into the boiling canner then. The jars can bust and burst if this isn't hot. Because if it's cold and then you put it in a hot canner, they can burst your jars. Okay, so, and I used, in my other video I said I didn't like the wide mouth, but these turned out fine. So it is okay to use them. You just want to make sure you have about 1 inch headroom between the bottom, kind of on the lip there of your jars. And then once you put your applesauce in there, and the jars have to be sterilized, I keep them in a pot of hot water. I boil them for 10 minutes. And then you're going to fill it up to about that much space, and then you're going to take a knife, or I use a spatula, and just go around in the jar to let the air bubbles out. Okay, I want to make sure there's no air bubbles, because this will expand when it's heating up, and then it will suction it down. You get a good seal on your lids, and the air will push out. So you want to make sure that your bands are on really tight. And you can reuse jars, you can reuse bands, but don't reuse your lids. And then you're going to put them in your boiling water bath, which I have here. And I just show you here. Okay, so if you'll come over here, you can see they're just starting. You want to put enough water where it comes up to this line here. Leave 2 inches of headroom there. It's just starting to boil. And you can fit 7 jars in your canner. That's 7 pint jars, 2-cup jars. And once it starts to boil, like now, once it comes to a full boil, then you're going to look at your clock and count 25 minutes. Okay, so after 25 minutes, you're going to take, I usually just turn it off and let it sit for like a minute or two to let it cool a little bit. The cold, if you have a really cold house, and this is very hot, it can make the jars burst. So I like to let it cool just a couple of minutes in there. Then I lift the jars up and let them sit sometimes a couple minutes before I take them out. And then I just take them out and put them onto some towels, so it's because they'll be very hot. And I use my tongs. Okay, so this is a cool nifty tool for getting them out of the hot water. And then I want to make sure, if you can see, these lids have indentations. That one just now popped. So I like to, that one just popped. Go all the way around and make sure that I don't know if you can tell, but that they're totally sealed. I just go like that and pop them all. That one, you can hear, has not sealed yet. It might still seal. It's still cooling down. So once you're sure that they've all sealed, then I do have some labels. I don't have them here to show you, but I put labels on them. I put them in boxes, and then I give them away for gifts. And I've made this applesauce to give to my new grandbaby that's 7 months old, and I have another grandbaby coming soon. And so they'll be eating my homemade applesauce. And thank you for joining Aunt Sissy in making applesauce. We'll catch you next time.